Welcome to our irregular show on economics, politics, international relations, and generally all questions of interest to entrepreneurs, politicians, and the general public at large. The idea of the show is to talk about interesting topics, interesting questions in a very relaxed and cozy environment. And we're going to be talking to various diplomats, politicians, and entrepreneurs from Ukraine and from abroad about questions that are of interest and about things that actually matter. And today it gives me great pleasure to welcome in our humble studio my friend and also the ambassador of Estonia to Ukraine, Kaimo Kuusk. Kaimo, welcome.
Thank you very much for inviting.
Thank you so much for taking the time. I know you're extremely busy. Ukraine and Estonia are going through an amazing time of cooperation, of friendship. It gives me great pleasure to have you in our studios today. I've got a lot of questions. We don't have obviously enough time to go through all of the questions, but I want to start off easy. So, how long have you been posted in Ukraine thus far?
I arrived 1st of August last year, so almost 1 year I have been here.
Excellent, excellent. So, from all the things that you've managed to experience, what are the 3 most unexpected discoveries that you've uncovered for yourself personally about Ukraine?
Well, I think one of the biggest impressions is the size of the country. In Estonia, if you start the engine in Tallinn of your car, in less than 3 hours you are actually already in Latvia.
Good point.
In center of Kiev, you are probably out of Kiev in traffic jams time. So that's the first thing. You can fly from Tallinn to Kiev in about 1 hour and a half. The same time almost you are flying from Kiev to Zaporizhzhia. So I flew myself. So the size of the country is very impressive for me. The second thing what I have learned just is your capability in space technique. Your university is really good. Your history past in space exploration, I didn't imagine that that's the Ukraine who is behind. And I just learned that in Elon Musk's team also one of the engineers was Ukrainian.
That's
Ukrainian.
True. That's true. That's true. Yeah.
And the third one, absolutely impressive, is your IT, vast IT sector. I know Estonia is good, but Ukraine is doing good as well, and that's
great.
For me.
It's amazing to hear. I mean, I myself am an engineer, and of course, as part of my work at iHUB, we do work a lot with IT, with tech startups and innovation. So it's amazing to hear your high praises of Ukraine's potential in this particular sphere, which is so close to my heart. And talking about space, I do agree with you. Unfortunately, a lot of people still from back in the day saw that Russia, the Soviet Union, was the pioneer in this domain. But today there are a lot of amazing engineers. But also, I believe there is another, not Elon's company, but there is another company which is co-founded by also Ukrainian, which works in the lower Earth orbit. So it's incredible to find out our reach. Interesting. So Estonia had a lot of success over the years, and I did come across information that you have had a remarkable reform within the medical and the police spheres. So what you did is you significantly cut down the number of hospitals, also the number of policemen. So that would initially bring about the idea that there is less service and less accessibility to these services from the population. Given the early impression that this is probably not a good thing, but likely this is only on the surface. So would you care to elaborate and share some of your experiences firsthand?
Sure. I think one of the most important things to keep in mind is that physical distance or the lack of physical distance doesn't mean the reachability of good service, either in medical sphere or police actually activity. And I can give you example from my childhood. I was born in Soviet Union. I was 7 when I got sick quite seriously. And I was hospitalized to a small, very small town hospital where I lived. So it's 1 kilometer from my home. So it seems that the medical service is really, really close. But my condition there actually went worse. The hospital didn't want to bring me another one, the regional hospital. So my parents kidnapped me from that hospital to bring me to a regional level hospital where I get cured. So I think for me, this is the best example that you don't need to have hospital, small one, 1 kilometer from your home door, if there's no good equipment, no good drugs, and in summertime, lack drug plus experience. So if you fell ill and it is not very common illness or sickness, they don't have experience how to treat you there.
So they can actually do you more bad than good.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So we actually moved away from this Soviet system where the slogans were good, free medical service for everybody,
Right.
To a very high quality medical service in Estonia, different levels, but really world class medical service. You need to see that the number of kilometers is not so important. You have to get very good quality medical service, and it should be reachable a little bit different way. And the same goes, in my opinion, also to the police. So in Soviet time, it was called militia. Then we reformed it into police. Police stations were in every small town and villages. But once again, what is the quality of the personnel, which is the most important actually in this service providing?
Especially with the police, I mean, it's extremely important to make sure you have
we cut down the number. We cut down the number. We have formed all over the Estonia 4 high quality, quick reaction teams, which are really, really high quality. I have seen how those guys are working, and I can convince you that you want to rely on those guys, not actually in a high number of policemen whom work I respect highly. They are doing great work, but if you cut down the number, you can train them better. You can give them really good equipment so they can reach to you or the place needed in minutes. Plus actually also, yeah.
It's a very incredible, actually great point. I mean, if you think what was important 100 years ago when we used horses, it took a while to get from A to B if it was 10 or 20 kilometers away. Now you have cars, speed trains, and of course air travel. That is affordable and that cuts our travel costs by a factor of 10, maybe a factor of 50 in some cases. So it's interesting to learn how quantity has successfully converged into quality in Estonia, and I think Ukraine has much to learn, because we do have that Soviet history, maybe even much more deeply embedded in our system than Estonia.
Plus, we have also started to involve voluntary component. There's a voluntary rescue service. The government gives you the equipment, really good firefighter cars, plus training, but the guys are voluntary. In their village, they react quicker than all the other ones actually nearby. And that also we have the, how to call it, voluntaries who help the police as well actually. So they can do also some things.
Incredible.
That's an important part in
That's
Estonia.
true, yeah. That also builds community. So talking about a very interesting and I would say sensitive topic in Ukraine. I mean, we've been fighting for this land reform for years, at least for a decade since I remember, because back in my past, I used to work within the agricultural sector as well. and we are finally on the verge of completing an agricultural land reform in Ukraine, which is an extremely big deal. It is controversial. A lot of people are worried and concerned. I would love to learn your experience. Estonia has done it before. Could you share some of your insights, what it takes, and how does it feel once you've actually completed this life-changing reform for so many of us?
It feels good.
That's it. You can stop there.
No, it's
excellent.
Oh, well, it wasn't easy. It's a painful process in the meaning of sharing the information, because lots of rumors, lots of fears are arising. We in Estonia, we were really afraid that our rich neighbors from north, Finns, our brothers, we can consider so.
I have heard about them, yeah, for 7 years. Yeah.
Coming to Estonia, buying all the land, all our beautiful islands and seaside, and we cannot go to swim and fishing anymore. So that was the fear in Estonian society.
I guess that didn't come to fruition?
It didn't happen. It didn't happen. Of course they invested, they came to Estonia, bring their money actually. Some even stayed to live there. So at the end of the day, it attracts the investments. It gives you the sense of ownership. You own the country. Everybody can own a piece of your own homeland. And I think this is a really, really important feeling what it gives you.
Interesting. And you, I do assume, still have direct access to your to the seaside, and you can go fishing and all, you know, swimming and all the other things that you were able to do before the land reform.
Of course, of course. Some regulations, because and not they are not Finns. It's Estonians also. If you own the land, you think that okay, I will shut this forest path, for example, but it shouldn't be like that. And now we have less and less those kind of incidents when person think that I will shut down this path. Actually, everybody can go through your forest. Everybody can pick mushrooms or berries. We like mushrooms as Ukrainians.
Right.
In private forest, you can go.
So you have access.
Pick for yourself.
Right.
Exactly. Exactly.
Interesting, interesting, very interesting. Yeah, I think it's very important to also hear directly from other countries, especially countries that were close and were part of the Soviet bloc, how they have overcome this fearful land reform. And obviously, it may be fearful for so many, but it brings so many opportunities, both economically, socially, and brings a lot of, in my view, and I see that you agree, a lot of general prosperity to the whole nation. So Estonia has been known throughout the world for e-Residency, and I would imagine it's very hard to find somebody who has not heard the word e-Residency or has not heard something about e-Residency, but not a lot of people fully understand or comprehend what it is and how he or she can benefit from it. Would you love to, I would love to hear a little bit more directly from the source, from the ambassador. So what's e-Residency, and how can I take advantage of it, and why should I?
Well, it's our way to give a gift for the others. We can call it like that. So Estonia is very proud of our own e-solutions, the services government gives for its citizens, but not only governments, banks. If you go to buy a car, you can do it using your electronic ID card, and you can identify yourself. You can sign the treaties via internet. So basically the same thing you can do using your e-Residency. And what is really, really beneficial is that you economize the time. You don't need to go to office, stand in a queue, wait an answer, come back with papers, etc. You can do it from your home computer. We in Estonia, we have even calculated that giving electronic signatures, we economize 2% of GDP per year.
Wow, that is significant.
So you can, and it's the time, the working time which people are not using for these kind of physical movements. So you can invest less time, resources into
Elsewhere.
Elsewhere, exactly.
Incredible. So for the people who are entrepreneurs or future entrepreneurs and businessmen and women, they would definitely love to know how e-Residency can help them set up businesses. And I've heard some rumors that you can literally do it online within the matter of 10, 20 minutes. Now, is that the case, or are those just rumors?
Well, everybody have to try it, and with every circle in a rally track, you are getting a better time. But it's really within the minutes. It's set up the company, but also declaring your taxes. Well, every February there's a date when the companies and the physical individuals also have to declare taxes, and I think we are probably the only nation in the world who eagerly wait this date, because if you had paid more taxes, you are getting these money back from the state. Exactly, within the days, quickly. So it's really, really comfortable. It's usually the bank system, tax office, corporate, the state takes it as a service. We serve the customers, and the customers are the entrepreneurs for us.
That is actually a very, very interesting view, how a diplomat or representative of a state looks at business, as business and entrepreneurs are your customers, and you are there to serve them and help them succeed. That's incredible. So let me get this straight. So if I want to set up a company in Estonia, right, and access a large market of the European Union and the Eurozone, and you guys use Euro, that takes me like 5 or 10 minutes online. I don't actually have to travel, and the company is set up. And then once I do my taxes, I also do that online. So I actually don't really need to visit Estonia for that. I can just do it from anywhere in the world. It doesn't even have to be Ukraine for that.
No. That's basically that's the case.
Interesting. I've heard some figures. Now I know e-Residency is being used all across the world. It's this incredible Estonian-made know-how product. But is it true that Ukrainian entrepreneurs have established the largest number of companies as part of the e-Residency program?
That's absolutely true. We like Ukrainians very much. You are interested in new technologies, and out of the number of the people who have taken the e-Residency, the Ukrainians really have established the biggest amount of companies as well.
That is incredible, and clearly, given the numbers, and I'm a tech guy, so I live by the numbers and I make decisions based on numbers, not so much feelings or gut feeling. Clearly, Ukrainians love Estonia and Estonians as well.
Mutual.
But outside, I'm just curious how we've managed to actually get to a point where Ukrainians have the largest number of e-Residencies and a largest number of companies established in Estonia. Obviously, that's partly due to your amazing work as ambassador, but what other factors do you see?
Well, I think it's the friendly relations between Estonia and Ukraine as such. Really good cooperation already in the 90s, actually. We have somehow understand each other. So we can understand each other's jokes. Our fairy tales maybe are a little bit similar. So we travel, well, people have relatives here and there.
Politically, we're very close. I mean, I know your president has visited on many occasions, and then our president was recently also in Tallinn, and I believe your president is coming back again once the borders are slightly more open due to the COVID-19 crisis. So it's both political and economic, I would imagine.
Absolutely. The economic reasons, political reasons, also I think the environment what we have created suits Ukrainians. The languages you have, you can easily easily work with laws in Estonia as well. I think the environment itself, also the business environment, I think is supportive. As I said, we take the entrepreneurs as customers to estates.
That's incredible. All right. Well, obviously we're very friendly on all levels. That could also be partly due to also some common problems or difficulties that we're faced. And Estonia has a significant border with Russia, very much like Ukraine. You have managed to keep it untouched in the same form. We have been struggling, as you know. We do have a war still ongoing, and Crimea has been annexed. I will not ask you to elaborate on that, but it would be interesting to get your opinion on how did you manage to ensure such high level of national security along these past decades as you've become independent, and what pitfalls you have experienced and how you managed to actually maneuver around them. Maybe Ukraine has something that we could learn from your experience.
So yeah, we got our independence back in 1991. Then it took us 3 years, a little bit more, to get rid of the Russian troops from Estonia. So our threat assessment in Estonia was quite straightforward and quite clear from the beginning. In our region, in Baltic Sea region, there's only one foreign factor which can, in some circumstances, threaten Estonian sovereignty, and it is activity of Russia. So we started to build up our defense forces, invested there. In Estonia, you know, we have a good saying, there's never too much love, never too much security. So you have to work really hard to invest there. Also include voluntaries. We have voluntary service, Kaitseliit actually, which is the defense component, and we have also invested there. And what is really important in this voluntary service is that they do it for free. They are self-motivated. It's territory-based phenomenon also. That means the guys defend their home village, part of the town, forest, their home forest. They are best there. They are the death trap for the overwhelming enemy as well. So we aimed right to European Union and NATO.
Early on.
Now we are the NATO.
Right.
And sometimes we also trying to, forgetting it and thinking of, how the NATO can support us. We are the NATO. So our units also are the NATO units. And the partners have really much helped us as well. The British battalion at the moment in Tapa is a part of Estonian defense forces. So we sent our young officers out in Finland, Sweden, Germany to get the best higher military education. So they came back, they started to build up the defense forces. At the beginning it was a little bit, sorry to say, overbluffed. Bigger numbers as we were really actually able to equip. Now it is highly good quality, well-equipped, well-trained military forces, plus this voluntary part as well. So with such a neighbor as you have also,
we share the same neighbor.
It is not easy.
The same risks.
You have to be ready for surprises. There have been cases where our internal security service officer was kidnapped from our territory. So that was 5 years ago. It took us 1 year to get him back from Russia. We swapped him for one catched Russian spy. So these kind of surprises better be prepared not to be surprised.
Very interesting, yeah, very interesting. I recall that before becoming an ambassador, you worked within the intelligence sphere as well. So I'm sure you know a lot of interesting topics that you're unlikely able to openly talk about.
Yeah, as we say also, you can ask whatever you want, but I pick what to answer.
Excellent. So I'll leave those questions once the cameras are off. Interesting. So, you know, moving from politics, especially geopolitics, to business and to investments. Now, Estonia, as we all know, has very limited natural resources. It's a rather small country, but you've still had significant success in attracting very sizable foreign investment. Would you elaborate how your government has managed to do this and how the investment climate has been developing over the last decade in order to achieve that level of success, but also that level of prosperity, economic prosperity and stability that Estonia enjoys today?
You know, everything is relative. By the territory, we are bigger than Denmark and Netherlands. So we like to call ourselves a compact country. And the biggest natural resource we have, we consider our people, Estonians. So we have invested really a lot into education. According to different international tests, our education system is one of the best in the world. So we have reformed our country from Soviet system to Western one, to pushed really, really hard through the painful reforms. First governments actually didn't get any popularity because of that. That's really hard for them, but we felt that it is needed, very much needed. So we created actually also a equal environment for everybody. Either it's education, everybody is treated equally. Actually, you can send your kid to a school which is the best despite of your income in Estonia. But also for the entrepreneurs.
And it's free, right? Education is free.
Yes. Now there's also a private schools as well, but majority is high quality education is free actually. For the entrepreneurs as well, everybody is treated equally, and that's really important. With your friend, you can form a company, and in some years you maybe have different visions of the outcome, and then you can go to the court, and court gives you impartial decision, and this is really important actually.
Rule of law.
Rule of law. Basically, that's really a thing which brings you the investment. But also, government worked really hard in some sectors to bring in foreign investments to tie Estonia with the West. It's not a coincidence that Estonian biggest private banks actually are Swedish.
So how did that come about?
The government worked to bring in the Swedish
foreign investment.
Foreign investment in the banking sector.
Interesting,
because this was decided decision.
Sweden is strongly considered among the strongest financial centers outside of London, of course, in Europe, especially in Northern Europe and the Baltics.
But yeah, that's the government's decision also to position itself. Already in the 90s, we belong to the West. We are not any kind of a bridge between of East and West. We are the West. There, start East. Fine if we can do the business. If not, sorry, we belong to the West.
Incredible. So basically, putting people first, investing into education and treating your population as your most important resource, and rule of law.
Absolutely.
Treat everyone equally, impartial courts. Incredible. But then the third thing is also, how do you bring about foreign investment, not just for the sake of, I believe, not just for the sake of the money that brings, but also for the sake of getting them involved in your economy, having Swedish vested interest
Exactly.
in the economy of Estonia.
We wanted them to be interested that we are successful. We wanted Finns to be very much interested in Estonia to be successful. So
incredible. That's
cooperation, mutual cooperation.
That's the beautiful. I think that's a very important way of looking at international business and international cooperation. You know, some people may perceive anything within any context, say the land reform, where foreigners come in and buy our land. You know, others may perceive that. You know, the government creates needed infrastructure, needed reforms, and then foreigners come in with their money, their expertise, but also their vested interest in making sure that everyone succeeds, including Ukraine or including Estonia.
Absolutely. And they came in with a mature business culture, which definitely we lacked. That's the 90s. In Ukraine,
like Wild West.
Well, you call it a Durbo regime. We had the similar thing, but the Durbos maybe wasn't very spreaded land. We called it rodeo. The Texas
rodeo. Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah,
So well, from a time distance, it seems easy, but in reality, actually, it took really, really much energy from the ones who actually made the decisions then.
Right, incredible. Well, let's talk about a few more problems. Now, we all live in a globalized world, the economy is globalized. Ukraine, over the last quite a few years, has been plagued by brain drain problem. A lot of Ukrainians, especially young and talented people, leave Ukraine for foreign countries to find new, exciting opportunities abroad. Would you share your experience and whether or not Estonia has had that in the past? What's the situation today? And how does Estonia as a nation state, compete in this very, very tough, competitive global arena vis-a-vis other countries?
Yeah, well, it's a part of the development of societies, I think. The people going abroad, and actually we love the freedom of movement, especially those last 3 months when we are locked into our own flats. We love, actually, we feel how much we love the freedom of movement. And of course, the people are going to work abroad, and well, from that concrete country, their people are going somewhere else. As we are looking at that, Estonians going to work in Finland, Finns going to work in Sweden, Swedes in Norway. I don't know where the Norwegians going to work, actually.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, we would need to ask Ole about that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Meet him and ask what
I'll do that tomorrow. We can add it as a comment to this video.
Excellent. That will be a good preach. But actually, big campaigns. We in Estonia, we have also launched a campaign several years ago, Talents Come Home. What works actually best is the development of society, the same business culture, the same attitude towards environment as such, the living standard. If that rise, the people start to come back, and in recent years already more Estonians coming back than going out. And actually we say to the young ones, go and look how it is abroad. And
learn from them, get experience.
Come back. Nowadays, in the IT world, actually, you can live outside. You have a company in Estonia. You can live anywhere. Yeah, where do you want?
You can be a true nomad.
Absolutely, and we try to introduce actually soon a visa for those IT nomads actually. So to ease also them to travel to Estonia actually. So it's it's not so much a headache for us anymore, but I can understand the difficulties. Sometimes you are lacking the good quality employees, actually. So build into your society. The directed campaigns hardly give you that result what the normal
long-term gradual development gives you
of the country.
Exciting, very, very interesting. Yeah, because I myself have spent a lot of years living abroad, in Finland, in the US, in the UK, and you know,
not
it's
yet
been 10
in
years.
Estonia. Not yet in Estonia.
Not yet in Estonia. I have
the time will come. Yeah.
been in Estonia many times. You know, I'm a big fan of Estonia. Maybe.
Well,
but I'm back in Ukraine, and I think there's just
actually,
yeah. And there's so many opportunities going about today, and obviously my opinion will be biased because I am Ukrainian, but maybe you can back me on this. I think Ukraine is going through a difficult time, but the opportunities definitely overweigh all the challenges.
At the same time, really exciting time. There's your work, my work, everybody's work actually have a meaning.
Right.
I feel it nowadays in Ukraine.
Yeah, and I think even at times, maybe much more your work can actually impact not just Estonia and Ukraine, but it actually can impact the larger European zone. I mean, some things, you know, like Ukraine and Trump, we've managed to slightly influence the global arena politics, which doesn't usually happen for the smaller countries. Exciting stuff. What about bilateral cooperation? Obviously, you as ambassador, you have a lot of insights, both politically and economically. Where would you say in the years to come there will be a lot of opportunities for businessmen and women to create new joint ventures and enterprises within the scope of Estonia, Ukraine, and our bilateral relations?
We have really good high-level cooperation. As you already mentioned during today's talk, our presidents have met several times, foreign ministers, ministers of defense, so there's a really good high-level cooperation. There's a different 8 projects we are involved to develop, help to develop actually Ukraine in regions. Especially we look at the eastern regions, and one of the aims for us is to train them, to cope with the difficult times or the new challenges, so to motivate them as well. We definitely cooperate on defense sector. We give aid to your guys who have fought on a front. We also cooperate and train, but at the same time also learn in a defense forces level. So artillery guys. Sorry to say, but you have learned the hard way, but we learn from you how to use the artillery actually. Pioneers, anti-mine, minesweeping and anti-mine operations, we learn from you, and also, well, train you the skills what we have got from Afghanistan, Iraq, for example. So cooperation there. Our special operation forces are cooperating. Once again, we are training you the NATO standards, how to use Western equipment. You train our guys. This is the defense sector. Economic cooperation, definitely. And I will be straightforward. Some vulnerabilities on the rule of law things. There's still some Estonian businessmen who have troubles here, and I really hope the progress will come in those as well. And then I can announce in a loud voice in Estonia, let come and invest, because if something
real
happens,
rule of law.
If something happens, Ukrainian court will protect your rights impartially. So this is important. Really good cooperation in IT sector. As I mentioned, I'm impressed how good you are. We have been inspiration for you in
For so many years.
e-solutions, e-government thing. Now I see your ideas, and not only me, but IT guys in Tallinn, what your ideas are with state in a smartphone. And we want to be close with you to see what comes out and implement that in Estonia as well.
That is so true, actually. I mean, I forgot when I took my passport or my driver's license with me. It's all on my phone. That is extremely handy.
Absolutely, absolutely. We still have the plastic card, so we learn. We already learned from you. Actually.
Well, that's where we learned from you first, and then we started implementing and ideating. Yeah, but that's the beauty of cooperation.
Absolutely, that's the thing I have always told to my team members as well. The cooperation is the case where your partner helps you to make a jump in your development. And then you got inspired, you come up with something new, and you help them to do the next leap forward.
Exciting. All right, so my final question of the interview. So from all the post-Soviet bloc countries, Estonia being the smallest one, I would imagine, you have managed to achieve absolutely unprecedented success in terms of quality of life, freedoms, openness to business. You're in the EU, you're in NATO. You're truly a nation that, in my humble opinion, Ukraine does and should continue to look up to and to learn from and to cooperate with. What do you think are one or two reasons that were the main foundation for your success over the course of the last 2 and a bit decades, almost 3 decades now, almost 3 decades?
I think first of all, we are a very pragmatic, target-minded nation. We just aim to restore our place in the West. So we felt that we belonged there, and we really pushed hard, worked hard, and went through sometimes painful reforms to reach there. Definitely our Nordic neighbor Finland was a good example to that as well. So we looked at them, their culture and learned from them. So,
So pragmatism, we have that.
Absolutely, that's good, that's good. We envied them in a nice and good manner, in a civilized manner, not in a manner when you envy your neighbor's house and you go and burn it down. No.
Not in that sense.
You have to build even a bigger one. At least the same one, actually. So we envied the Nokia, what the Finns had. True. And we thought what could be our, maybe not recognizing that the e-government, what we started in 2001, was it actually. Now we have to modernize it with the help of you, actually, to not to lose it as the Nokia went away. So
that's great to hear.
It's not a good comparison maybe anymore, but really, Finns, great nation, great neighbors, definitely the one we took as a role model somehow, definitely in society and economic issues. These are the secrets of the compact country and nation.
The simple secrets of a very, very difficult and long journey that your country has gone through, and that our country is also going through and catching up. Well, Kaimo,
we'll do it.
We have no choice, and I have absolute 100% certainty that we will. The question is how fast. I hope very fast. We're almost there. We're just getting there. So, on this note, from the bottom of my heart, Kaimo, thank you so much for finding the time. It was a real pleasure to have you here. So once again, it was a pleasure to have this lively discussion with Kaimo Kuusk, the ambassador of Estonia to Ukraine. Thank you so much for spending the last 40 minutes with us. I hope you have learned something interesting about the wonderful nation of Estonia and about our bilateral cooperation, politics, economy, and business. Stay tuned till the next show. Thank you and goodbye.